Hey guys, happy Wednesday. Of course, I'm out there today. But I wanted to do is a very short video so you guys do not fall behind. So make sure you guys watch this all the way through. I'm going to do my best to keep it short and brief because we don't have any spaces inside our notebooks. What I want you guys to do is take notes on a separate piece of paper for me. And when I get back, we'll just kind of staple it in there. So again, separate sheet of paper. I want you guys to try out this warm up so you guys know how this works. Pause the video. I'll let you guys know when, what to copy, what not to copy. All right. So again, pause the video here. Try the warm-up. When you're ready to move on, hit play. Alright guys, so this was the question that was missed pretty heavily on the last quiz, number 3, so we want to make sure that we cover this and do it right. So it says, what are the new coordinates for A, B, and C? So we want A prime, B prime, and C prime after applying the following translation. So again, here's the rule that I have to apply. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my A, which is negative 4 comma 4, my B, which is negative 4 comma 1, and then my C value here, which is negative 2 comma 1. And again, when I apply this transformation, okay, this is a translation, what is going to be my new A prime? What's my new B prime? And what is my new C prime? So let's set up my parentheses here. Okay. So basically, you guys, what is happening is you're literally going to take your X values and substitute them in here into the rule, and you do whatever the operation is saying. What I like to do is, again, what am I going to do all my x's? Well, I have to subtract 1 from all of my x values. So it's negative 4 minus 1, negative 4 minus 1, and negative 2 minus 1. What am I going to do to all my y's? Well, the rule says I have to subtract 3 from all my y's. So it's going to be 4 minus 3, 1 minus 3, and one more time, 1 minus 3. So what is that going to look like here? So again, what is negative 4? Let's work the x's first. Negative 4 minus 1 is negative 5. What is negative 4 minus 1 again? That is negative 5. And then what is negative 2 minus 1? That is negative 3. Again, notice what I did is I took 1 away from all of my x's. I'm going to do the same thing with the y's. So what is 4? What's the rule say for the y's? I have to subtract 3. So it's 4 minus 3, which is 1. Now, what is 1 minus 3? Well, that's going to give me negative 2. And lastly, what's 1 minus 3? That's also going to give me negative 2. And again, that is how we apply a translation using a mapping rule. Okay, so make sure this is the one we want to study. It will show up on you guys' unit test in about 2 weeks. Okay, guys, so title your notes, essential to be reflections. We're still going to talk about reflections day 3, but the idea today is I'm not going to give you a graph, okay? All the previous days, I gave you your coordinate plane, you had a figure here, and I said, hey, reflect this triangle over the y-axis. And so you would highlight the y-axis. Okay, you'd go through, you'd highlight the y-axis, and then you would draw your new triangle after you reflected it, right? Well, what I'm going to do now is simply give you the coordinates. I'm going to tell you what A, B, and C are, and you're going to reflect it just by using the coordinates. And now there's a certain pattern some of you guys kind of saw. So I want to talk about that. What is that pattern before we actually get into the rules? So again, what's the objective? Being able to explain to a partner how to reflect an image without using a coordinate plane. Okay, so let's jump here into, let's take a look closely at what we've actually been doing. What do you notice about the coordinates after the given reflection? So if I ask you to reflect over the x-axis, here. So again, where is my x-axis? I'm going to highlight this in yellow. My x-axis is right here. What happens when I flip this triangle down? Well, notice negative 2 and negative 2 for my A. If I'm going from A to A prime, well, the x value stays the same, but the y goes from 1 to negative 1. What about from B? B was at 1 comma 4 and it's now at 1 comma negative 4. So my x, these are still 1, but it went from a 4 to a negative 4. What about my C to C prime? Well, my x's stayed the same. It's still 3, 3, but I went from a 2 to a negative 2. Now let's take a look at that same idea over here for the y's. So again, reflect over the y-axis. Now again, I'm going vertically up and down. This is my axis. Okay. If I take from A to A prime, what do you notice about the x values now? The y's are staying the same. Still at level 3, but I went from a 1 to a negative 1. What about for my b's? B is sitting here at 5, 2. So the y value is 2. And b prime, the y value is still 2. But what happens to my x? It goes from 5 to negative 5. Now, what about c? Well, c to c prime, it went from negative 1 still the y, negative 1 still the y, but now my x value from c to c prime went from 4 to negative 4. So if you guys notice, all that's really happening, depending on whether you're reflecting over the x or the y, is you're just changing the sign of the x or the y value. So, but what is the rule, right? So whenever you're reflecting over the x axis, which is the guy that's going to change signs? Well, notice here, your x's stay the same. Your y's are the ones that change from positives to negatives and from negatives to positives. So again, whenever you're reflecting over the x-axis, it's the y value that is changing. Now, what happens when I'm reflecting over the y-axis? Well, the y's actually stay the same, and it's my x values that are changing signs. I'm taking the opposite of the x. So one way to remember it, if you're reflecting over the x's stay the same, change the y's. If you're reflecting over the y's stay the same, change the opposite sign of your x's. So what I want you guys to do is copy this rule right here. This is what I want you guys to get down right here, this point and this point. When reflecting over the x-axis, I change my x comma y. The x stays the same, but now what this little negative means is you're going to flip the sign. We change the sign of the y. So make sure you copy that down. When reflecting over the y-axis, the y is going to stay the same. So notice x comma y, the y stays the same, but that negative, again, all it's really doing is it's changing the value of your x. We change the sign of x. All right, take a second, guys, pause the video here, and copy this down. All right, so example 1, we'll do this one together. What are the new coordinates after reflecting the following coordinates across the y-axis? So again, if you're like, what the heck, on a test, if this comes up and you forgot it, you're like, what the heck? I know when I had a picture, could you go ahead and would you be able to plot A, B, and C on the coordinate plane and then visually reflect it over? Yeah, absolutely, and I would not stop you from doing that. But again, what's the shortcut here? Well, remember the picture that we saw, when I'm reflecting across the y-axis, okay, my y's stay the same, change the x value. I'm going to flip that x value from positives to negatives and from negatives to positives. That's a shortcut when I'm reflecting, keyword here, reflecting over the y-axis. So A is going to go from negative 2, comma 4. What's my A prime going to be? Again, I'm reflecting over the y. The y is going to stay the same, so this is still going to be 4. But it goes from a negative 2 now to a positive 2. Whoa, that was crazy. What about for B? Again, if I'm reflecting over the y-axis, the y is going to stay the same, negative 5. But it's going to go from a positive 3 to a negative 3. Now, lastly, let's do C real quick. C is going to go, well, the x is going to change to a negative 7. Does the y change at all? Nope, because I'm reflecting over the y-axis. Stay as a negative 2. And again, oops, I forgot to make these prime, B prime, and C prime. And lastly, D prime. Well, again, reflecting over the y, so the y-axis is going to stay the same, negative 3. 0 is going to go from positive to negative. It's the same thing, guys. 0 is just going to stay as 0. All right, what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to try the following. Now, notice what this question is asking. Make sure you write this down. Reflect across the x-axis. Make sure you copy those directions before you actually try it out. So again, if you're going to reflect across the x-axis, x's stay the same, change value of y. Alright guys, pause it here, try these out, and I'll give you guys the solution in a second. Alright guys, there we have it. Bam, easy peasy lemon squeezy again. These problems shouldn't take very long. So again, when you're reflecting across the x-axis, we only want to change the y value. That's the guy that's going to change from positive to negative, or to negative it's going to go from positive to a negative, or from a negative to a positive, excuse me. So again, notice all my x's, guys, are staying exactly the same. All I did was I went through and I changed the value of y. So I went from a negative to a positive, positive to a negative, negative to a positive, and well, 0 is still going to stay at 0. Alright guys, one more shot at this. I want you guys to try these two problems. Now notice, number 1, what is it asking? What are the new coordinates after reflecting across the x-axis? Okay, look back into your notes if you got stuck. What value is going to change? Now for the second one, reflect across the y-axis. All right, take a second, pause the video here. I want you guys to try these two problems. Take 30 seconds. It should be super, super quick. You should be a professional. All right, guys. So here we have it. Again, the first one was reflect across the x-axis. So again, what is the little shortcut here when you're reflecting across the x-axis? X values will stay the same. You're going to change the y's from positives to negatives, negatives to positives. Again, notice all my x values stayed the same, stayed the same, stayed the same, stayed the same, right? But my y values are the ones that are changing signs because we're reflecting across the x-axis from 3 to -3, from 2 to -2, from -2 to +2, and 0 to 0. Similarly, same idea, right? If I'm reflecting across the y-axis, notice my y values this time are the ones that stay the same. Okay, but my x values are the ones that are changing. So from a negative to a positive, positive to a negative, 0 is going to stay at 0, and then -5 goes to 5. All right, guys. So this is just a nice little neat trick. If I ever give you this type of problem, could you, if I was to give you 4, 3, -6, 2, 7, -2, and 0, could you graph those on a coordinate plane and highlight your x-axis and reflect them over like we've been doing? Yes, of course, absolutely. Again, I would not stop you guys from doing that. I just wanted to show you guys this little shortcut. Some of you guys were seeing the pattern, so I wanted to make sure we all knew it. We were all exposed to it. Okay, so what I want you guys to do, number 1 and number 2 is your class activity. Do this on a separate sheet of paper. Make sure this gets turned into the inbox before you guys leave today. It has to be turned in before you leave. Number 1, number 2, exactly what we learned today. So again, you're going to reflect for number 1, reflect over the x-axis. Number 2, you're going to reflect over the y-axis. So I need the new values: a prime, b prime, c prime, k prime, l prime, and m prime. What are the new coordinates? For number 3, reflect over the y-axis. Yep, you do have to draw this picture down, and I need you to reflect over the y-axis. Take out your highlighter. Okay, use that highlighter to help you out. And number 4, what is the line of reflection? This is what we learned yesterday, right? I gave you the pre-image up here in black, and I give you the image here in red. Again, what is that line in between? What's that line of reflection in between? Make sure you give me the equation. This is going to be x equals something or y equals something. Take a look back at your notes if you forgot. All right, guys, have a great day. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to email me, or you can post a comment on Google Classroom. I will try to get back to you guys as soon as I can. Mr. Benavides, you guys can always go in there if you didn't understand today and go ask him for help. Again, I just didn't want you guys to fall behind. So again, put in the work, guys. I will see you guys soon. All right, have a great day, guys.